Happy New Year, everybody! This is Mishka, Mish-chan, Mish for short. And here's my actual block time video. There's so much things to talk about. I'm talking about what I've been, how I'm doing, and of course I finally graduated just about over 3 weeks ago. And I know that was on New Year's Eve. But there's something else that we would have known about a little bit. About a couple weeks ago, I finally got my new pair of glasses. As we can see, thanks to my husband Shoban. What do you think? Well, I'm getting used to them because these are the best adjustments. And I got this little flower from my home state of Hawaii. And so is this towel, thanks to my husband. We both picked it out. But let's just be really honest here. I really am going to share my point of view about my experience so far. There's some good times and mostly sad times that the beginning of 2025, somewhat halfway. I really have to be honest. I feel happy that me and my friends from the anonymous group, mostly redacted, we all finally have came this long far, and we end the chapter of our lives on New Year's Eve before my church service even started. But most of all, I feel really sad that I couldn't be able to say goodbye to, I'm trying my best not to cry but I felt really, really sad that I couldn't be able to say goodbye to those I personally grew up back from the island and those from my childhood. Before they even got a chance to see me graduate. But as me and Anonymous simply adjusted, we simply have put all what I actually recorded, and we agreed about trying to keep them anonymous, keep them private. And I think to give some that we grown up with from YouTube and other communities the best recognition, so that way they don't feel a little missed out. So recently, the past few weeks, my own job is actually constantly cutting my hours with no explanation. And recently, while it was happening, there was labor and I wasn't really around as much. The only thing I am pretty shocked and scared and really indescribable to believe, the new workers, and especially the workers that have been around for 6 or 7 or 8 months already. There was an actual fight going around while I was really focused with all the things I have to take care of for the holiday season. It happens so unexpectedly every now and again, and they didn't even realize how I felt hurt that all my efforts in that one certain workplace, it isn't going to work out for me anymore. My husband was really disappointed with them right now, even to this day, despite the silly ice storm situation. And most importantly, one of the very highest executives in management, I would say they're toxic. Not in my job, but every part of the system that I remember from my childhood days. They were making fun of my friends, and they were making fun of my friend's sister, and her friends were all grown up in their early 20s already. And it really hurts me to believe those who took job as trainees, executives, superior, or whatever they want to claim, they didn't seem to realize or care of how much they were putting so much pressure onto her and her friends, which was even worse. And what's even more worse, there was such real toxicated bullying going on in the workplace, and it's really going on online. Someone has scribbled together to cheat at everyone else while they got hospitalized while they're getting sick due to the virus going around. those who started out the fight just about a few weeks ago, that was around shortly after New Year's Eve. They didn't seem to realize or care that I hoped, believed, and placed full trust in each and every one of them, and it got so bad no one doesn't really want to go back to the certain franchise that I work at. I've been working there for 3.5 years, and another silly little stunt that happened, it's not going to work out for me anymore, and it's not going to save all of our jobs or the fact they unknowingly and unintentionally hurt me, hurt everyone in between, and they were cheating on a lot of people with AI in the system, and they never recognized that. Well, they got hospitalized, they had to immediately step down or quit the job, and some others, they won't even talk to each other anymore. They just need some time to reminisce a lot of things, but I don't blame our pals from the anonymous group. Let's say Pan Pan. If he's watching this, I am so sorry what your sister had got to go through. And I don't personally blame you for, I do not personally blame you for getting a restraining order against D-Long, even though it's not really his real name. I want to keep at that. I would have to be honest, he and his on and off body since the start in the middle of the 2000s, as once college and university, I never understand why would they want to use their entitlement to get too far for over the last 2 decades. They were given full trust and they have went their ways to intentionally hurt someone. And he even pretended to seem so superior like everyone of his buddies were, in order to impress those who are now in the job as leaders or those who officially retired. But now, to the point, all this got so bad and worse, it's kind of like affecting those in between. And I'm glad that we all agree on something. Sure, for all the elders that attended that service, and especially one certain elder in particular, through the anonymous group, I really am glad to know he, out of the elders, have supported me and all of us who graduated that one evening. And we kind of always keep that sanity in a good and healthy way as the 2020 pandemic such. No offense to anyone, but I really am happy that he has supported me and everyone else through all of our crazy journey since 2022. And of course, I'll be honest, what D-Long and the others, his on and off buddies, and so many bad people who never once took responsibility what they have done, they never once think back about others or anyone else except themselves. But what Flint, even though it's not his real name, and several anonymous members, some want to be redacted, some of them wants to keep their names private, but his name is an anonymous name. What each and every one of them did for me and for those around, I gotta say, they're the true good friends that I can ever even ask for. And of course, we have a very wise elder that really helped us through. Even a very wise captain of security. Once of a captain, always remain a captain. And I suppose, even if I don't have my friends and my family to have my back, even if I don't have Epic High School Ministry that I really love, even they got disbanded. Epic High School Ministry was actually my favorite ministry when I got to New Hope Labor as a high school junior that time. It's over a decade and I really missed him so much. Even though me and my husband got there since 2 months ago, I was so hurt and heartbroken to find out Epic High School Ministry, if you used to own a young adult ministry, they got disbanded. So it's 5-year high ministry. I never even expected to get banned ever since I left the island almost 10 years ago today to live in South Carolina. You can see this towel represents Hawaii, and the other towel, it shows the symbol of the flag of South Carolina. But what matters is I'm pretty much trying to move on and trying to process and try to reminisce, and I'm still trying to stand strong, hoping and praying and believing everything will turn out okay. Who knows? And with all that aside, now to this kind of subject about being pressured into things I barely even understand, I'm trying to get the hang of. And I also want to apologize to some certain staff members on one certain community in particular. Let's be honest, I never ever want to monetize anything that had anything to do with AI or copyright related stuff. And it comes to my attention that some of us got set up thanks to Long and his buddies, and so much of the unexpected circumstances have been going on behind the scene while we got struck with all this holiday rush. And of course, he and the buddies, they were guilty of normalizing cyberbullying, workplace harassment, and not only that, it's happening in real life, but it's happening like everywhere me, my husband, and anywhere we go. Even though he actually, not my husband, DeLong, even though he actually pretended to be superior in order to impress those who got the job and those who officially retired several years ago in order to get wherever he wants. Good news is, his mom, he's already knew that, and Pam and I know that the mom's the old school fashion way. She actually disciplined him without ever getting to cyber punish him, or cyber shame for the matter. I'm really glad to know that Pam he actually placed full restraining orders against him for how he treated his baby sister. I'm really going to keep that at that. But I'm really going to say some crazy, cracked up news. The others who kind of trick people into think this is okay to use AI to get and do whatever the heck they want, it's really making them feel they never once been guilty of bribery, blackmail, blacklist, whatever. I just don't know how AI really works, and I don't know how all this might work out. I want to be really honest. I just don't understand because I get easily left out so easily, and people misguided me. For example, there was this one certain group back in Hawaii that I was in while I was going through so much. You guys probably saw my flashcam videos before, almost 10 years ago. The friends I had that time, they were so drunk in the head, they didn't even understand that I need real instructions. I need proper guidance, and they never once understood I have a learning disability. I found out I'm on the autism spectrum. I've been suffering with some anxiety disorders, depression, and so many things I cannot control. And each time I try to ask for help, and any time when I try to at least reach out and be vocalize how I feel when it comes to new things that I never understand, they just left me there stranded, confused, and I don't know how Discord actually works. And what's even worse to the point that 2015, one friend of a friend of that friend group through that Facebook chat, they did convince me into going to Discord, but leaving me out without ever having proper instructions, and they never knew or understand I was part of the special needs all along my whole life. Doing that to people like me and expect them to figure it out on their own, they just don't work that way. It came to the point, one certain friend of a friend in particular, he was so drunk in the head, I immediately got to get out of there. I never came back to my original account of Discord ever again. I kept that old original one before getting another one, even for educational purposes and documentary. Well, thanks to them who were supposed to at least guide me through, I always get wrongfully punished, and I never got any explanation. I get scared, and no one ever understand. I have a social anxiety disorder back in 2020 of December that year. Well, almost 6 years ago. It's hard for me to process verbally and physically, or try to at least understand this a little bit better. No matter how many times I try to speak out for myself, talk about how I feel, and express all the things that I can't be able to be sure of, there were no proper guidance. There were no proper, well, some proper strike system, and there's no one else that can properly guide me about my age, even though I'm 31 and I'm going 32. They were others who were supposed to help me understand. And there are many others that have disabilities in different ways. They need some comfort and support, guidance, and they need some patience and have faith. But what others did, that was pretty, well, indescribable for me to understand what they did. It really hurt, not just me, but others. There are a lot of things I never understand back in high school, and it's like things were kept a lot of a secret. And the friends that I had that 10 years ago, they never once think back that one of them were so drunk and they never understand I was part of special needs, and again and again. But mainly, I have work at that time, and I have promised long before I even create the flashcard videos, thanks to certain Anonymous in colors. But in fairness, no one in the whole island or anywhere else never once had a clue to what they did was really wrong, and they almost got in trouble for it. I don't want to be critical, but we all been through the craziest and the worst. It's hard for me to at least verbally express when they keep being mad and angry at me all the time, or they have some random ideas to excuse the problem. And the only thing that really had broke my heart, a friend of mine over a decade ago have given up his life, and while I was going through workplace bullying. And everyone's really concerned about this the whole time while I was there, then the next and the next. That kind of behavior that I knew, caused by those recently I knew, one job or the other, entering everyone's friendship. I really have missed out my church friends, their graduation from college, university, or an academy. And I miss out their weddings, their birthdays. I never even got a chance to let them know I needed their help. I want to respect their privacy at all costs. At all times. And personally, thanks to certain people who hurt me in my life, they never once understand what they did is discrimination. Even every now and then again. It passed down from the island all the way down to the mainland of the east coast of the USA. I don't really care if they only think it was meant as a test. Me and an anonymous group, and those who remain witnesses remaining redacted, we just want them to take full responsibilities of their actions and think what it really feels like to walk in my shoes and see through my eyes, or anyone's eyes for the matter. Even if they never once realized, there's so many people out there really need some help and some support and comfort. They need some true friends who have pure hearts, to have patience and guidance and faith. Aside from just loyalty. But all I ever seen every now and again, there are a lot of bad apples in my life. They never wanted to apologize. I thought keeping my mouth shut and still having to take every risk, they would immediately stop and everything would be okay. It got backfired into ruining all the friendship in between the lines. And that's how I became a homeschooling student back in summer 2022 or 2022. That same summer and that same certain year of my 10th anniversary of class 2012. Okay. Still then, I wasn't so sure who to turn to anymore. There's so many good people in my life. They deserve much of the credit more than I did. And I wanted to be honest, even if others who never once understand, they were so quick to assume, or if they're suddenly assume without giving me a chance to speak up verbally or vocalize what I really have to say. I never intend to be the problem of trauma dumping or NC, whatever that is. But I already understand what that meant. But it never changed the facts. When bad apples of bullies and abusers and toxic people get going off unpunished, and those like me and those I cared about get wrongfully punished too. We already found out with Anonymous, who came from one part after the other. From a certain community, he and the rest found out there are a lot of bad apples who used those who wrongfully punished others. They were using them up into cheating a lot of people when they got hospitalized. And my friend from a certain community, they were assaulted on the job just about a couple and a half nights after my husband got into an accident and my friend got kicked out because of a narcissist. Okay. With so much war happening all at once, 3 people I cared about, my husband and 2 friends from the same family community, and then all of a sudden 2 people from different states got wrongfully fired, trying to be our colleagues. My anonymous colleague members' relatives got wrongfully punished for no reason. Well, the citizen was gone wickety whack. And what it makes sense till this day, we couldn't be able to understand why people are starting to be so horrible to others. A certain someone from the group of a movement, she wanted to remain anonymous because she was democratically a noble type person. She was so focused with education and academics, but now she finally see what happened with her sister, who was also a good friend of mine, along with the guy who's really in the right-winging thing. They already have seen how bad some bad apples were, and they were using such entitlement like D-Long and his buddies. There's so many questions from Karusima. Even though it's not her real name, and she was once part of this certain, like I mentioned before, like democratically noble. She wanted to ask questions to certain people who are responsible for leading as moderators or whichever. She did ask that if she ever encountered them through an anonymous group or anonymously. Certain people, like the ones who are supposed to guide me and help me understand, even have nowhere else to turn to, or no one has anywhere else to turn to. I mean, hardly anyone had anywhere else to turn to, even when they have disabilities. She once tried to ask those who are moderators from a certain community, they were supposed to be good leaders and they were supposed to be good listeners. And the only reason why someone was trying to reach out, because someone knew, like Squirrel and Zane and Spade, they started to realize how bad one certain community got so toxic. It's alarming every grown adults that we somewhat encountered in our lives for the past several years in the mainland. They were not in the right mindset to become disciplined adults, role models, or influencer. We learned this the hard way from a certain video. Just because they're an influencer doesn't make them a saint. And that only reason why I got so convinced to be in this one certain server. Because they already knew there's some bad enough just to give every fan of the band name. And the only reason why I got there, I was willing to give those a chance. My husband in the background. Because all this time, they accidentally ignored the fact that we're still trying to learn, and I was trying my best to help out, and want to put my talented skills into the test to make all this work out, but not intentionally hurting anyone in any negative way, the way how D-Long and his buddies were. And I thought if they might see most what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to say, all this could have been prevented if they would understand what it's like to be me or any of the victims I'm trying to speak out and be advocating about. It's okay. It's part of the protocol, but they need to revamp. They need to at least think things straight. Try to treat people better even when they never knew what they're going through, instead just going in their way to be mad angry without ever knowing the deeper facts first. Because without knowing the facts, you will never ever learn anything. And I know for a certain someone I personally knew. Let's just say she's a swan and she's really educated as Charisma. I know she had a right to be mad and angry with them the way how my husband felt. But I don't want to reveal the name of the server at any time soon. And as for the AI stuff, I just don't want to take that risk anymore. And I'm glad that people try to help me understand the background I used for one of my challenges. I'm glad that Pan and the others already knew. Just the same time, people noticed that one of the background I used is AI generated. Because each time that I was trying my best just to take one step at a time, my own pace, and try to ask for help, and I try to make sure who's really the real artist and who I can credit to. No matter how many times I want to focus and I really got to get everything done as fast as I could before the end of the year, it's almost as if, as Pampa knew, D-Long and his buddies want to set me up into failure. And they want all those who use AI to think it's always their fault. And he was really into the not even a thinking straight path that he would actually want to have me to think it's always going to be my fault. I never got that chance. He literally had to do that, setting me up and setting everyone up the last minute in order to get whatever the heck he wants. He's been doing all of that to set all of us up to get all his silly little gold rush on purpose. I just don't understand. I know how confusing my life might turn out. But all I'm going to say is that it's a whole new year. People need to start helping others. I'm going to give everyone a helping hand. Not just leave people in the dark or leave them behind or just later on find out the last minute. Those that we once see are completely gone. I know it's so hard to describe, but I'm glad that Pan really caught him in the act for how he treated others. So many anonymous members who kind of saw how D-Long and his buddies, on and off buddies, aren't really in the right mindset into guiding people to get through. Even though D-Long, he's still living in the mom's house, I'm glad the mom is still in the old school fashion way. Let's just say, just wait until a lot of good-hearted apples might find out about this. But I'm not going to reveal him out, and I'm not really going to reveal anybody out anytime soon. But to the main thing is, I want to move on from the things that's been holding me back, and I want to get back on the things that I love doing. I personally blame those who used to bully me. For the past decade, I personally say I personally blame them and I pity them. And I never I'm a type of human being who can hold a resentment against. I also forgive them. I mean, if they wouldn't immediately stop and listen to how I was deeply feeling, instead of just sending my feelings all off and lead me to these serious disorders I've struggled with to this day, then maybe this flashcard videos I made with anonymous help, it would have existed from 10 years ago. Almost 10 years. And to the surfers who knew about one certain content for those who are way above the ages, but shouldn't you guide people who are still a late bloomer or still barely understand what they meant or they're never explained back in school just before they even exit out high school? I mean, all they ever did anymore is just set them all off and leave them to this point of punishing themselves and making them feel bad about themselves. Or they didn't deserve to belong here, there, or anywhere else. We all feel we look to them, but they gotta be careful how they treat others, how they guide them, how they influence, and how they handle. I know there's a saying, choose your words wisely or else they're gonna be their last. But I'm the only kind of type, souls a lot of anonymous, felt respectful to me for believing that. We all felt like we want to give those the benefit of the doubt and give them a second chance to at least clear up their names a little bit. And they need to literally just try to revamp, try to reset, and try to make this right with those who are deeply hurt. Not just the ones who hurt me, those who hurting others by accidents, and those who are unintentionally backfire their actions into allowing those like D-Long and some bad people that are caught on the news from going too far. Even though they have no idea, they might easily lose everything that they have. Got what they wanted, lose what they have. But I know it's never going to happen yet. I mean, I know it sounds really silly. I know it's not really going to happen, not even yet. We just don't know, and I cannot predict the future. Needless to say, there's some things in life we can never describe. Leaving people out is not going to make you a good look on your part or on your position. It gives you a bad name and a bad look, a really bad look. If they really want to stay in one certain fandom community, not originally like the Toontown fandom community, anywhere else, they need to literally just learn that mistake. But help people like me, regardless age, shape, and size, despite any of that, or the flaws. They need to literally give themselves a chance to at least explain their point of view instead of just being hard on others and then being hard on themselves later on in life. Put this behind them, learn how to forgive, make amends, get a clean change of pace, and need to reset in a healthy way. Because I cannot be bottling this up, nor the anonymous can't stress this. We can't be allowing people like them to be doing everything like this all the time, like every day. But I'm glad those who have disabilities due to the fact of a certain severe accident, a really tragic one, those who cannot hear, those who cannot see, they cannot talk or no longer move around anymore. I respect the fact they have to use these impairment through AI or without AI. They kind of have to use them for that reason due to the fact they're severely injured or they're permanently damaged. So I respect these people who really have to do that. And I don't blame them for having to use AI into good use fairly and wisely. That's one thing I respect, but we cannot use AI for profit gain or diabolical gain. We didn't even know the bots itself before AI became a thing. Some others who are acting like hardcore bullies to me and many others way back in 2013, mostly 2011, Some certain people in our lives, they're so thoughtless and clueless, and they're so really arrogant. They're never gonna realize they just pushed someone's life over the edge. So, we'll hope, pray. We always gotta keep believing in ourselves no matter what. Well, I just don't know. I just don't know how, but I know we'll have to figure out somehow without ever downing ourselves. So, in fairness, people have seen the errors of their ways. Just like Basil. I'm glad for Kibby, a good friend through Pan Pan. He always stayed mutual in between because Charisma, democratically noble, once in the democratically side, and Basil, a silent type rhino from a right wing party. Kibby was so mutual, standing on his ground in between. He showed both of them were about to be in a heat up debate. He already told them that a few years ago. Those like Dean Long and his buddies and those hardcore toxic supporters, they were cheating with AI in the system while our friends got hospitalized. And of course, all in shock surprise, their own friends, colleagues, they got hospitalized too. But I'm glad KPH stayed in the true loyal side. There is a really big a lesson taught by Sherry Lewis. Thank God he knew about that young lady. That lady from my childhood. If you want to be a good friend, a true good friend, you have to tell the truth straight out and upfront. That's what we all gotta do from now on. And unlike D Long and his on and off buddies, we actually knew the honest way and the old school fashion way. I am not really gonna I'm not really gonna look onto these crazy ideas anytime soon. Even if we have no place to go to, even things may get kind of expensive like during the last 2021 through 2024. There are some certain people, like mostly through Kurusuma's sister's family, even though she was in the same toxicated family that are so toxic, cruel, and dismissive. Someone like her family and someone like Basil's friends, right wing, hardcore, abusive family. More than both sides, they would have known they loved their own loved ones. They were shocked, they were sorry, and they never knew they're feeding negativity to someone they didn't know. And they want to have a second chance. But the looks of it, I want to keep those two certain people who are the Romeo and Juliet type private. As much as Zane and Spade can figure it out, they're not going to get it another second chance after their attitude helped DeLong into hurting others. But we hope and pray for the best for the families, and we also pray for the best for those who are harming others by accident. Even if they want to be good people, it's gonna take a lot more than a verbal apology to make it up to others. They gotta have to at least stop and listen to what others need to say. They gotta shake themselves up. I mean by that, it's gonna take a lot more than just a verbal apology to make up for this person. And they may want to keep helping those around, only one step at a time. If they honestly can't see what life truly is, then they're never gonna learn anything. So, I'll end this here that everything will work out as much as we hope and pray for. I don't know what the years are going to go until from 2026 all the way to 2027 and so on, so on. I don't know. But we'll figure it out. I'm hopeful. I believe we will never ever give up. Have faith over fear and always believe in yourself. Take the risk, express yourself in a positive and healthy way no matter what anyone else thinks. And there's one thing I have to say before I can end the video. If those who hurt you, always show kindness to them. Always show what kind of good person that you are, even if they can't see until they never know from a short to a long-term period of time since that one certain incident. If they can't see it, then that's okay. But don't ever hold a grudge or resentment against them. Do not publicly bash them. Do not hurt them. Let them find out for themselves. As we learn, forcing demanding people doesn't work that way. They just have to find it for themselves in order to become good people. Don't let all the negative stuff stop you from becoming the person that you are. Because you're amazing and you are loved. Don't give up. You are loved. Always have faith in yourself. You are the most amazing person anyone can ever ask for. And you know, a certain someone above made you special and he loves you very much. So ending this video, let's just hope 2026 will turn out to be awesome, amazing, and fantastic. Okay, I gotta check with my husband and I need to make sure he's doing A-okay. Okay, signing off. Bye.